Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us to take you on a little journey over the next half hour or so on Yukon. As we say here, Yukon larger than life. And what we like to do today is highlight what we call as four reasons to travel to the Yukon, which is covering 4 seasons. So we'll go through where is the Yukon, how do we get there, why go to the Yukon, some of the aspects and activities, and also a little bit about the destination and the regions within the Yukon territory. So where is the Yukon? It's part of the North Canada tourism area. It's just inside of Alaska. Alaska is on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side, as you can see there on the screen, Yellowknife, which is in the Northwest Territories, and then below is British Columbia, and then down Vancouver further on from that. So that gives you an indication of the location. And now, of course, how do we get there? From Vancouver is the most prominent point of entry for Australians travelling into the Yukon. It's a 2.5-hour flight, year-round services by both Air Canada and by Air North. Air North is the Yukon-owned airline. It's a very, very good airline, so there's excellent quality services going in from Vancouver. Also, WestJet in the May-October period have 3 flights per week. Of course, WestJet are also a very good airline. Other gateway cities are Calgary, Edmonton, Kelowna, and also there's Ottawa via Yellowknife as another service. So as you can see, the Yukon is very well serviced by air, and of course by road. You and your clients are able to travel in from Alaska and or BC. So there's very good road access, and a cruise port at Skagway, which is for BC ferries and other cruise vessels coming in and out of there. So it gives great access, and that's only 2 hours from Whitehorse. So as you can see, it is very, very well serviced by air, and Australians are really now taking to the destination very well. We are now number 3 as far as the worldwide market, behind the USA and Germany, and Germany has its own direct services. So the Australians are taking very, very well to the Yukon, and thank you very much for all of you for helping us to sell the destination. So let's go through now what Yukon is all about and what's on offer on the seasons, etc. So in the winter period, we've got the aurora viewing, or the northern lights. Other winter activities we'll go through. Then it goes to the extreme of that, into the midnight sun, northern summer, daylight 24 hours virtually. There's a great variety of soft adventures, the scenery, there's wildlife, Canada's highest and youngest mountains, great national parks, the wonderful history of the gold rush, and the cultures and the history again of the First Nations people. And it's also a great destination for driving with the great scenic areas. So that's covering a lot of what the Yukon has to offer. We'll just highlight a little bit more of the geography again of the destination. So as you can see in that mapped triangle there, we've got above Skagway into the Yukon area, which is Whitecross, and then we've got all the way up through to Dawson City and Tombstone National Park. Over on the bottom left-hand corner, there is also Kluane National Park, and we'll go through that in some more detail later on. So that is the geography of the Yukon. And most people arrive into Whitehorse, which is the capital of the Yukon. It's termed there as a wilderness city, a population of 28,000. It is a great city. It's got a lot of things on offer. It's the starting point for, in any direction, of great touring. has a range of hotels and lodges, and a great deal of activity to explore from Yukon's capital, Whitehorse, which is the ideal base. A little bit about the area in Whitehorse. It's fantastic dining. There's restaurants from virtually every part of the world, so any cuisine you would like to discover and enjoy, it's there, and food is extremely fresh. They grow a lot of local produce, which people don't realize that's a possibility up that far north. A wonderful cultural scene there as well, with great music festivals, good galleries. A lot of really historic museums, which from transportation through cultural, through the gold rush commencement, etc. A lovely city with a small town charm is very well a good way of describing Whitehorse. So what do we do from Whitehorse? Well, the most prominent aspect is aurora viewing, and you can see the image there on the screen. Very spectacular in regard to sight. Aurora viewing, or the midnight, or the Northern Lights, as we term it, as late August through to mid-April, so it's quite an extensive season. Most people take 3 and 4 nights to base themselves around Whitehorse, either be part of a group or as an independent. It doesn't matter. Specialised tours to the aurora viewing sites usually leave the hotel at 10 p.m. and get back about 2 a.m. So it's usually wise people have a relaxing following morning and just do some leisurely activities. The sites are 20 minutes from town. The reason they're that far from town is that they're in the darkness area, so there's no street lights or residential lights to interrupt any viewing. The tour companies operate hotel transfers. They have heated yurts, advice on photography. It's always wise to have a very good camera, and snacks are available on site. Just in regard to the photography, what you see, such as that image there now, is more prominent through the lens of a camera, so your photographs will be much more prominent than what you will actually see with the naked eye. Also, aurora viewing is available at many of the lodges within the Whitehorse area. And accommodations are varied. It's a wonderful, relaxing destination. We have a lot of, in Whitehorse and in Dawson City, 3-star hotels, very good hotels, and wonderful wilderness lodges and cabins, but some B&Bs. The cabins and lodges are something like you'll see here. Very cozy. Most of the lodge and cabin businesses usually have up to 3 to 5 to 7 cabins per property, so they're not huge holdings. It's very nice, comfortable accommodation, and the food at these lodges, etc., where there is full catering, and the food is fantastic. As I said, it was in Whitehorse earlier on. The food is a major activity. All the lodges arrange for airport pickups, daytime activities. Some of them have self-catering, etc., so it fits all markets. And there are a great variety of things to do in and around Whitehorse. They can take in the Klondike historic site of the old cruiser that's there. There's wonderful museums, including McBride Museum I mentioned a while ago. They cover all areas from the First Nations cultures right through to the birth of the transportation industry, and also the gold rush. Other activities, the hot springs just north of Whitehorse are very prominent. A wonderful wildlife park or preserve I mentioned, has its own brewing company, a lot of great nightlife, excellent shopping, and of course outdoor adventures. The Tahini hot springs are something. It's a very popular activity, particularly in the winter time. You can see in the top left-hand corner there how it's all snowed around, but then the hot natural springs, so it's wonderful for people to just go in there and relax. So maybe they went out late the night before doing their aurora viewing, so it's a nice relaxation aspect. The wildlife preserve, it's like a huge outdoor zoo. They have all the various species of animals. It could be bears, lynx, goats, whatever. Many of these animals were struggling in the wild, and they've been injured or whatever, and they're brought into the wildlife preserve and brought back to full health again, and they roam in their own fenced enclosures, very, very spacious, and it's a wonderful, wonderful visitation, whether it be in the winter time or summer or spring or fall. Another great aspect and a very, very popular activity is dog sledding. That is a lake by the summertime and winter iceland, if you like, for dog sledding, and people can go in sole use or in teams, or can go on a sleigh type, a multi-vehicle, multi-person vehicle that the dogs can haul through the snow, and it's very gentle on the dogs. It's no concern there at all. Snowmobile and snowshoeing are also popular activities during the winter. So you can just imagine aurora viewing at night time, and then some soft leisurely activities during the daytime. Temperatures obviously get cold. It's 0 to can get to minus 35 Celsius there, so it is a cold destination. However, winter rentals are usually either supplied by the companies up there or can easily be hired. It is a dry climate, so there's no humidity. We get snow, as it shows there, from November through April. The most prominent period is January and February for the coldness, but also the activities. And there's not a lot of sunlight during that winter time, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. During the December and into February months, and March a little bit longer, or quite a bit longer as far as daylight is concerned, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's getting towards the midnight sun, as we feature here now. Yukon summers are wonderful. The colours are outstanding. 24-hour day sunlight virtually. The solstice being in June, of course, and the temperatures dramatically change from 15 degrees up to 35 degrees Celsius. So instead of being a minus, it's a plus. So it's two extreme parts of the year. Some activities in the Yukon summit, beautiful, beautiful scenic areas. That lake would have been frozen over in snow during the winter months, and now it's available for hiking, canoeing, cycling, etc., camping, fishing, riding, whatever it may want to be, and it's just a very, very spectacular area for summer. I won't go through all the comments on here, but you can see ideal for hiking and boating of any description, and also flight seeing, fly-in fishing trips, a great variety of activities to do by the air as well. Population, I said, of Whitehorse was 28,000. The total of Yukon is 35. However, a great variety of wildlife is in its abundance area, as well as the preserve that I mentioned earlier on. We've got great access to animals all over the Yukon, so it could be driving along a highway or a roadside and you'll spot some bears grazing on berries or green grass or whatever in the hillside, or it could be a caribou family just going for a wander early in the morning. A great variety of bears and birds and moose, etc., all there in their abundant area, and you do usually get to see these characters wandering around in the wild, which is very, very exciting for the general tourist. Yukon, as I mentioned, is the base for a great variety of activity we just mentioned. However, a couple of hours on any direction from Whitehorse, there's an enormous amount of activity from down south towards Haines into Alaska. We've got Kluane National Park, which I'll mention a little while further on, and then we've got Dawson City, which is the gold rush town, and then on to Tombstone and further on, which we'll highlight for you. An ideal day trip on what we call the South Klondike Highway, south of Whitehorse, taking in a variety of activities. It's 40 minutes out of Whitehorse, past some beautiful lakes and lovely scenery. There is the First Nations recreated little village of Carcross, a wonderful location for a stopover for a little while. Museums and cafes, some woodworking demonstrations of how they build their totems and their statues and their canoes, etc., etc. And it's a great way to place to commence a hike, or also commence the White Pass Rail, which was the originating area where the gold seekers came in back in the late 1800s, and this was built in 1900, just after the pioneers came through, and then the search of gold up in Dawson City. So this is a very, very spectacular rail network. It's some wonderful viaducts and bridges, and great for sightseeing on this very slow moving train, which allows plenty of time for photography and what have you. Goes over the mountain pass down to Skagway, and of course a lot of the people on the cruise ships join this rail network. There are a variety of routes available on the trains, so it's not just one area. Wonderful activity opportunities for mountain biking in that area, and can be taken on half day. A site there is one of the many lakes, so there's great access to some lovely recreational activity as well. Further over to the east is Kluane National Park. It's a UNESCO site. Very, very famous. It's about 2 hours drive from Whitehorse, so this can be done even in a day. We've got a great interpretive centre there with the First Nations people giving great highlights. Very, very, very well done. It's a great educational aspect. There are a lot of stops for scenic viewing, hiking, and of course one of the most exciting aspects is to take a flight seeing tour over St. Elias Mountains, which is the world's largest ice field. Canada's highest peaks are located there, including Mount Logan, which is the tallest and the youngest mountain in Canada, just under 6,000 metres. A great range of summits over 4,000 metres, 20 in fact. You can see an aircraft there in the left-hand corner of that slide. So it just shows how vast this area is. Some frozen waterways underneath. They don't thaw out at all. It is possible to land in some of these areas in the more summer and fall and spring months. Now, probably my most exciting time for the visit to the Yukon is in the fall period. The colours are absolutely outstanding. That's just one example of what a person would experience and driving along the very relaxed roadways of the Yukon. Beautiful nature visit from all aspects. An example of a driving tour would be a minimum of, say, 4 nights. That covers what they call the Golden Circle driving area. It starts in Whitehorse, down through Carcross that I showed you a little while ago, through to Skagway, and then through to into Alaska, and then back up to Haines Junction and Haines Junction, where is the start of the Kluane National Park, and then back to Whitehorse. So you can experience and see and do a lot of activities in those 4 days. It's only 600 kilometres, but a lot of things to see and do. Ideal for either a car rental, utilising accommodations in hotels or lodges, or an RV vehicle, where there's some great parks over there for on-site accommodations, just like the camping grounds we have here in Australia. Okay, further on, we go in now, look at the further north, which is the Gold Rush area of Dawson City and Tombstone National Park. So just to refresh again, that map triangle there, it shows you Whitehorse and Carcross and Skagway that we mentioned a while ago. Kluane National Park was the flight seeing area that we mentioned. People can drive through from Kluane up through, goes in and out of Alaska a couple of times up to Dawson, or it can, another great scenic drive is direct from Whitehorse, driving up through the internal part, right up to Dawson, or of course flights can be taken. So it's a great variety of travelling to do in any part of the Yukon. So what is Dawson City all about? Well, Dawson City was a location of more than 100,000 people back in the 1896 period, when they had the crazy and very successful and lucrative Klondike Gold Rush, considered the greatest gold rush in the world's history. So it's there, it's steeped in history, and it really highlights yesterday, and it brings it out today, if you like. So as I mentioned, it's a 6-hour drive or an hour's flight from on Air North, Yukon's own airline. There's today 2,000 people plus tourists, and that is what you see on that slide there. That's one of the streets. All it's sort of like Art Deco in today's style. You can see the boardwalks there. That's permanent, where that person is stepping out onto the roadway. Permanent ice underneath there, and it just doesn't thaw out ever, even though this is a summertime image. It's on the screen. So it's a fascinating destination. It's a fascinating time of the year in the summer, because it really doesn't get dark. That is the operational season. Dawson City really doesn't open very much in the winters. I mean, a few hotels that are open there, but it's a summer or spring or fall destination. So great history of gold mining. There's wonderful walking tours. There's a casino there. There's shopping and there's dining. So there's a lot of activity and facilities. The historic gold panning can still be done just across the road from where this dredge is located. This is what they call dredge number 4, the largest wooden hull dredge in the world. It's a fascinating thing to see. You can do tours through it. It does take a little while, but it's certainly fascinating. But it's wonderful just to go and just experience how the gold was all dug back in those days. The engineering feats were quite outstanding. A lot of restored buildings and on the guided walks. This is one of the poet demonstrations. Poetry is very, very famous, as well as storytelling. Jack London, the famous author from Call of the Wild, etc., of the Huskies during the Gold Rush. He's got his cabin is still located there. So there's a lot of history and a lot of sort of working history, if you like. Canada's oldest casino is still operating, with nightly shows through in the main season of May through September, including gambling and dancing girls, etc., etc. I mentioned earlier on the First Nations and cultural aspect is quite famous. It is beautifully done in many areas, in this interpretive centre or cultural centre in Dawson City is just jam-packed with artefacts, history, and great storytelling, etc. Midnight sun viewing from what they call the dome up on the hill above Dawson City. Great at all times of the year, however, very, very spectacular for midnight sun viewing. And I've been in a hotel lobby where the sign says sunset 11:40 p.m, sunrise 12:06, so you get 20 minutes of dusk, no darkness. A very, very fascinating destination. On further from Dawson City, 1.5 hour drive north, is the Tombstone National Park, a wonderful, beautiful, fascinating area for wildlife and scenery. another interpretive centre up there, which are very famous, dotted all over the Yukon, really. Again, this is, as I mentioned, the fall is a beautiful, beautiful time to be in any part of the Yukon, and in particular in the Tombstone National Park area. Just sitting there, hiking, walking, taking a relaxing time. Fascinating area. Further on north, if people who have some more time, maybe another 7 or 8 days, they can go right in through the Arctic Circle, the only highway in Canada to cross the Arctic Circle. So you go from Dawson City through Tombstone National Park right up to Inuvik, up into the Northwest Territories, and experience some great aspects, including you can do some scenic flights up there. Many people would have seen the Ice Road television series, etc. So there's a lot of history, a lot of exciting times. However, it is also very, very relaxing. That is a busy road in Yukon style, so it's there's not a lot of cars around. It is great for driving. So just some of the highlights again before we close off for the day. Iconic drives, I should say, and also scenic itineraries. Package tours are available. Most of the wholesalers will have that. All of the wholesalers have self-driving itineraries. They can package in lodge and hotel accommodation. It's a great destination for RV rental. Last time I was there in August, September last year, was a very, very popular activity of driving without it being crowded. So it's very, very leisurely, lovely destination to drive, relax, stay in a really nice lodge or a RV in a campground, which is a lot of activity. A great relaxing destination. So just in summary again, just to highlight what the Yukon really has to offer. Aurora viewing in late August through April, which, as I said, the Northern Lights is aurora viewing. And the other winter activities are highlighted, the dog sledding, the other winter activities, which are very, very prominent. Midnight sun in the summer, June through September, doesn't really get dark. You've got the mountains, the ice fields, the biggest ice fields in the world, and the youngest mountains and tallest mountains in Canada. So a great variety of rivers and lakes. We call the Yukon larger than life. And the scenery says that, and the biggest crowds would be the wildlife instead of not as many people. Great outdoor adventure, history of the gold rush, which is what the Yukon is really known for, is the Klondike Gold Rush, and the great culture and still communities of First Nations people really experiencing the lifestyle in the Yukon. So as I mentioned a while ago, Yukon is the base really where you fly into. It's less than 2.5 hours from Vancouver or Calgary, and the various regions which I did highlight a while ago, which are great for tourist activity, Carcross and that Southern Lakes area down to Skagway where the cruise boats come and go. Kluane National Park, the Canada's highest mountains and youngest, and also one of the biggest ice fields in the world. Dawson City, the Gold Rush, the great fascinating story of the Gold Rush, and then up into the Arctic Circle through Tombstone National Park, a great variety of accommodations, making it all, as we say there, a very unique destination. So hopefully that has given you some ideas for you and your clients to experience the Yukon in all 4 seasons, and so we call it four reasons for traveling to the Yukon and experiencing a great destination. Hopefully that has given us enough time this morning, Charlie and listeners and viewers, I should say, and thank you very much for your time to experience some of the Yukon larger than life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. It is such a unique destination, and as you say, absolutely fascinating and stunning. Thank you so much for that. So, ladies, the floor is open for questions. So any questions out there, please type them into the chat box and I will read those out for Ray. Really great to have those itineraries as well, Ray. And I guess in terms of the wholesale products, there's a lot more for the Yukon around these days.
Yes. The wholesalers are really now looking at Yukon as a touring destination, not just a midnight sun, or in more particular, I guess, the aurora viewing and the winter activities. It's become now very much a destination for spring, for summer, and for fall, because of the great variety of colours and activities and experiences that they can participate in, and then have the leisure of driving on uncrowded roads.
Yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. No questions at the moment, so what we'll do is we'll sign off there. If anybody does want to hang back and ask anything or have a chat, please do. But otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you, Ray, for that wonderful update. And
thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.